Ew. Oh, that's gross.
Hey everyone, welcome to Jason Explains Things. If you're like me, you pride yourself on taking good care of your vehicles, especially classics like this 1987 Dodge Ram D150. But without meaning to, you could be overlooking simple maintenance steps that, if not addressed, could lead to huge issues like this.
Just run.
Let's address 4 important maintenance steps that I've overlooked on my truck and take care of them right now here in my garage with basic tools. This video is sponsored by Techron High Mileage Fuel System Cleaner. I use it religiously on this truck because it's my baby. Cold start test.
Don't forget the basics, many that have videos on my channel that you can watch if you need help, like changing your oil and filter at least once a year or every 5,000 miles, checking your belts, checking your air filter, checking your tire pressure, checking your tire tread and age. My tires are getting old, so I'll likely get new ones next year. Checking your transmission and diff oil levels, greasing your steering components and U-joints.
Overlooked maintenance item number 1, power steering fluid. Now, I'm 100% guilty of forgetting all about power steering fluid. To check the power steering fluid, wipe off the cap, remove it, and check the dipstick. The fluid should be at the lower line if it's cold, upper line if it's hot. Wipe the fluid onto a white towel to check the color. So the power steering fluid level looked just fine in the old Dodge. Wasn't surprised by that because I've only had to top it off like once. But that fluid does look a little bit old, a little bit dirty. I have no idea how old it is. And one key indicator whether or not it's a good time to change your power steering fluid is if you start to hear a whine sound from your power steering pump. So I want to make this pump last a little bit longer, so we're going to be doing a fluid change. There are a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to show you a way that originally I saw from Chris Fix that doesn't require you to disconnect any of the lines and make a big mess. This is a very clean, simple way to do this. Let's do it right now.
Use a fluid extractor to remove all the old fluid from the reservoir.
Ooh, that is pretty dirty.
Take your time and make sure to get all of it. Then lift the front of the truck so the front wheels are off the ground. You're only lifting the front of the truck momentarily with the wheels on, so I didn't use jack stands, but you totally can if you want to. Next, turn the key to the on position, but don't start the engine. Turn the steering wheel back and forth from lock to lock to move more of that old fluid back into the reservoir. Lower the front of the truck back to the ground and extract the old fluid.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh, that's quite a bit more.
Now fill the reservoir with new fluid. Now we're going to start the engine for just a few seconds to suck that new fluid into the power steering lines. The fluid level has likely dropped, so add a little bit more fluid so it's full. Now start the engine, let it idle, turn the steering wheel full lock left to right, check the reservoir, and top it off again if needed. Now we need to bleed any air out of those lines. So it's time to go for a 10-minute drive, doing as many turns as possible like a big dork.
Hello, I'm just driving like a nincompoop.
Stop along the way and check your fluid level and add some if needed.
Nice, drive went well, got back, let the engine cool down a little bit. I went for some extra credit and extracted all the fluid out of the reservoir one more time and then filled it up again to the hot or cool line depending if your engine is hot or cool. Started the engine up again one more time. The pump sounds great, the fluid level is great. So now to keep up on the power steering fluid, I just need to check it every oil change. If you like the tools I'm using and want some suggestions on other tools, including things like this fluid extractor that we're using today, head on over to my new Fancy Pants Amazon storefront. I'll also have links in the description. Overlooked maintenance item number 2, brake fluid. I am terrible about brake fluid because I know that you're supposed to change it every 3 years. Brake fluid itself is hydroscopic, meaning it absorbs moisture in the air and therefore it loses its brake fluidiness.
It's science.
You can have brake fade and other issues if you have old, bad brake fluid. Changing out your brake fluid used to be a giant pain in the butt because it was tedious, required 2 people. You got to pump the brake, and if you do it wrong, then you have air in your system, and it's terrible. Well, with the same extractor that we just used for the power steering fluid, now we're going to be using it with a different attachment that came with the extractor to bleed the old fluid out of the brakes.
Lift the rear of the truck, secure on jack stands, and remove the rear wheels. Extract all the old brake fluid out of the reservoir. This fluid is almost 6 years old, about double the age it should be before doing this. Hey, nobody's perfect. Now fill the reservoir with new fluid. The plan is to now extract all the old brake fluid from the lines, one wheel at a time, while keeping the reservoir full. If you allow the reservoir to run empty, air will get in the lines and you'll have to start over. The passenger side rear wheel is the farthest away from the brake master cylinder and reservoir, so I'll start there. If there's a rubber cap on your brake bleeder, remove it, clean the brake bleeder, and apply some silicone grease so the extractor has a good seal. Build up some pressure in the extractor, and crack the bleeder loose to drain out the old fluid. After draining for a bit, close the bleeder to maintain the vacuum, check the reservoir, and top it off. Repeat this until the fluid coming out of the bleeder is clean and clear, and free from any air bubbles. Repeat this process on each wheel, driver side rear, passenger side front, and finishing with the driver side front. When you're done, the brake pedal should be nice and firm as usual, and your brake fluid reservoir should be full. You're now good for another 3 years. See? Not that bad.
Are you guys ready to judge me? The brake fluid in the reservoir didn't look that bad, but in the lines? Better late than never. Overlooked maintenance item number 3, your PCV valve and crankcase breather. This one is so overlooked that I overlooked it while getting ready for this video about overlooked things. Reviewing the owner's manual before filming, I found out you're supposed to check and or replace the PCV valve and crankcase breather on a regular basis. The PCV valve, which is located right here, is supposed to be checked annually and replaced, according to the owner's manual, every 5 years. The crankcase breather right here should be checked and cleaned every year. I've never done either of these things. Oops! I feel especially dumb about this because both these parts are incredibly easy to replace and cheap if you need new ones. Well, let's do it right now.
Let's start with the PCV valve by removing it, checking the grommet and the hoses.
All right, let's test our PCV valve. Now you're supposed to be able to blow on it and air will not come out the other side, but if you blow on this side, air comes out. That's how the new one functions as well. Now, unfortunately, you can kind of tell quality is going down when it comes to these replacement parts. So I'm actually, since this one still works, I'm gonna put this one back in and we'll save this one for when this one wears out.
Next, remove the crankcase breather, checking the hoses and grommet for cracks or age.
We got our old and new crankcase breathers. So these are serviceable, and if you look in here, it is very, very grimy. So what you do is you get some kerosene or mineral spirits, you thoroughly wash this. I was going to reuse the old one, but I'm out of mineral spirits. So we're just gonna swap in the new one.
Lubricate the clean or new part by holding the breather upside down and filling with engine oil until oil comes out the other side. Drain the excess and reinstall.
Overlooked maintenance item number 4, don't let your hoses explode. So when heater and coolant hoses go bad, it can happen pretty fast. I thought I was doing a good job checking and replacing hoses as needed. We got a new upper radiator hose, a new lower hose, and I've kept an eye on all the others, but there was a ticking time bomb hiding in plain sight. Let's take a closer look. Buried deep underneath all of these other hoses right here is your heater bypass hose. It's a very, very short 90-degree bend, and this thing looks like it is about to fail. It is extremely swollen, it's cracked, and residue is all over the place. I don't know, guys, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I would say this thing is decades old. It looks really bad. Okay, when it comes to the replacement, this is a replacement new hose with factory style clamps. Now, I could not find this part local to me. I had to special order it, took a little while, and if you need to do the same, I'll have the information down in the description for you.
To swap this out, I'll need to drain about half my engine coolant to avoid making a huge mess. Use the drain at the base of your radiator and drain into a large pan. Once you've drained a gallon or so, close the radiator drain, disconnect your upper radiator hose, and fold it out of the way. If you haven't replaced your thermostat in a long time, now is a great time to do it. Mine's still pretty new, so I'll move on. Now you can remove the old hose.
You are a sassy hose, and I've had just about enough of your malarkey. There we go. Whew. You sassy hose, you get. Hold it, there it goes. There we go. Oh, wow, look at that. I drained the exact perfect amount because you can see water in the, ew.
Oh, that's gross.
I spent some time cleaning the area and removing all of the residue. Now install the new hose. Reconnect your upper radiator hose and top off the coolant. Next, we need to bleed the air out of the coolant, which is really easy with this kit. Connect this special funnel to the top of the radiator. In my case, I use the red connections. Fill it up a ways with new coolant. Start the engine and let it run until there are no bubbles coming from the radiator. Plug the funnel, install the radiator cap, and you're done. Awesome, our work is done. Let's go get some fancy gas for the old Dodge because she deserves it.
While I use the old Dodge for hauling yard waste and other dirty work, she is becoming more and more collectible all the time, so I am trying to baby her as much as possible. That's why whenever possible, I like to use ethanol-free fuel and treat the entire fuel system with Techron High Mileage Fuel System Cleaner, around every 1,000 miles or so. Techron High Mileage cleans and protects vehicles with over 75,000 miles. It's formulated for gas-powered cars, light-duty trucks, and SUVs, old classics or new. Whether carbureted like my truck or fuel injected, Techron High Mileage keeps your entire fuel system clean. Also, if you don't drive your classic very often, Techron High Mileage actually stabilizes fuel for up to 1 year. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. If I missed any other overlooked maintenance, if I overlooked it, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely pin those. Until next time, God bless, and don't forget to do yourself. Yeah!